So thank you guys for being here today for this periodic seminar by Harrison. We should have had two talks today, Harrison and Aftab, but unfortunately Aftab is sick, so he sent me an email at night saying that he could not attend today. Giving there's more time to Harrison to entertain us on this 802.15.4e, which is an IEEE standard introduced in 2012 for industrial applications. So you have around 25 to 30 minutes to entertain us on this subject.
Thank you, Patrick. Hello, good morning. So the topic which I'm going to present today is an introduction to 802.15.4e. So before going into the standard, I would first like to give an overview of the field which we are working on. So this is cyber physical systems basically. So first, the computers were used for computing purposes, like to do some basic addition and everything. It was formed in 1949. And after that, there came real-time computing. That is like, that added time inside it, time and computers inside it, real-time computing. And after that, we had hybrid systems. What is hybrid systems? Hybrid systems is something like an interplay between Newtonian laws of physics and the digital form of the computing. So, with all these in mind, there were some instigators who put all their effort inside it to form the cyber physical systems. So, thus formed the cyber physical systems. So, it was completely funded by the National Society of America, and they formed the term cyber physical systems. So, I would like to call this as a third generation of control systems basically. So, in the first generation of control systems, they had operation amplifiers, feedback amplifiers, and those kind of stuff. And the second generation, they had digital control, in which they had completely digital based computers. And the third, we have the network control, in which we have embedded computers. Currently, all the computers we have is almost embedded computers. So, this is the third generation, and we are in a place where we can form a platform revolution, just like the revolution started from the operational amplifiers to the digital computers. Now we are in an era of making different kinds of systems for all the people, like for everything. So we are in an era in which what happens is the depleting of resources. Lot of resources which we are having are in a depleting time right now. So we are building systems to save ourselves actually. There is a guy called as R.S. Kumar from US, from the University of Texas, who says that cyber physical systems are the systems that we build to save us from ourselves actually. So thus this is the cyber physical systems, and we have this is the main overview of the topic. So what is the main motivation or to go inside this is like the industries basically. So I'm giving like two industries right now, and we can just sum up lot of industries. I'm just giving some basic examples. So I'm taking two industries, automobile industries and domestic industries. So if you see something like a normal automobile, you have like about 75 sensors inside it, and you have like 1 kilometer of wiring inside an automobile. So what people are working towards is like to take all the sensors and connect it together in a wireless fashion using a base station. So these are the things which people are right now working. And apart from that, like you can also go into some domestic industries, like for example, a climate control domestic industry. In a climate control domestic industry, everything should be controlled. So we were in something like the sensing idea, like we were sensing like it's not enough to know what is the temperature of this room. You should be able to control the temperature of this room according to your will. Like if it is too hot, you should be able to change it. Same way there were like, it is a lot of things like water, temperature, humidity, ventilation, and lot and different of things to be put in a single system. So what happens there in a system? Collision. Collision happens in a system. So these things should be avoided. So there are a lot of things in industries that have to be avoided. So what is the main motivation in this? It is simple. How do I guarantee delay in a wireless system? How do I guarantee a critical timeline in a domestic system? How do I guarantee a delay in an automobile system? How do I guarantee a reliability in a system and everything? Basically, to put all together, what I say is, how do I guarantee a quality of service in a system? That's it. So this is my main motivation to go inside this research. So, before going into 802.15.4e, I want to talk a little bit about 802.15.4. 802.15.4 came in 2006 actually. So this is a standard which got introduced. So before going into 802.15.4, I would like to say like what is an IEEE standard. So a standard, IEEE is an organization that forms standard. So it forms for a broad range of industries, power and energy, biomedical, healthcare, information technology, robotics, telecommunication, home automation, transportation, nanotechnology, and information assurance, and lot and different of things. All these applications, they form standards in order to have a balance, have an openness, and have a set of protocols how it has to work. So that's why a standard is formed. So .4 is a very good standard actually, and it provided for a lot of industrial applications, and Zigbee is one of the most famous applications that came out of 802.15.4. So in 802.15.4 you have the channel is a physical channel, can be accessed through two things. One is the beacon based method and another one is the non-beacon based method. In this diagram I am giving a beacon based super frame. So they have super frames in which you can send data. So in this beacon based super frame there is like, I can show you that these two are beacons and in which it is a super frame. The super frame is made up of two regions. One is the contention access phase and the other one is the contention free phase. So what happens in the contention access phases, the channel is accessed through CSMA-CA. What is CSMA-CA is like channel sends multiple access, collision avoidance. And in the contention free phase it is made up of guaranteed time slots in which the time slots are completely guaranteed. And after that there is an inactive region in which your device can remain inactive. So this is a beacon based method and this is the common super frame. So let's talk about CSMA-CA right now. So what is CSMA-CA basically? Like in talking in a real example, like a real life example, like it's like a lot of people talking in a conference, like many people talking in a conference. So when each and everyone talk in a conference, like when two people talk, it should not collide with them. So they will be seeing whether one is talking or the other one is talking, and they will have an idea whether the thing is free, whether people are free and available to talk, then they talk. So that is a collision avoidance in real life example. So CSMA-CA is using the same thing. So the nodes check whether the channel is available to transmit the data. Then if it is available, they transmit the data. If it is not, then they wait for some specific time and they transmit the data. So that is the main idea behind CSMA-CA. Which is used both in the beacon and the non-beacon methods basically. And after that we have the guaranteed time slot in which we have specific time slots in which they are particularly guaranteed, and you can go and get depending upon what your PAN coordinator says over there. And then we have the non-beacon mode in which you don't have beacons and it is completely accessible through CSMA-CA. So this is IEEE 802.15.4. Now why should we go to 802.15.4e? This question comes because there should be some reason why we should not stick to 15.4. So there are some limitations which I am going to give right now. So one is unbounded delay. In both beacon enabled mode and non-beacon mode, it is based upon CSMA-CA. So this does not guarantee the bound or the maximum delay which comes, because sometimes the delay can be more higher than what the application needs. So there is an unbounded delay, and then there is limited communication reliability because it has a very low deliverancy ratio, which is not advisable for a lot of industrial application. Apart from that, there is no protection against interference and fading. The thing is, like, there are a lot of technologies available right now, like Bluetooth and wireless HART, in which multiple channels can be accessed, multiple channels can be used, but in this one you have a single channel in which everything happens. So there is a lot of interference that can happen over this, and a lot of fading also can happen over this. And apart from that, you have powered relay nodes. That is the thing, like in the principle what they say is that the device which is sending the data can rest over some time. thus saving a lot of power. But in mesh topologies of the beacon enabled mode, the device has to stay awake for the entire time period, which what will do is consume a lot of energy. So which is a big problem in case of lot of applications. So these are the limitations of 802.15.4. This gives the motivation to go to an enhanced standard. Thus comes 802.15.4e. First, initially I would like to take the exact abstract from the standard and I put here. So 802.15.4e is an amended standard from 802.15.4. It gives enhancement and functionality of 802.15.4 actually. So 802.15.4 gave the MAC layer and the physical layer. In 802.15.4e we give only the amendments in the MAC layer of 802.15.4. Basically to say that it is something like a child protocol of the parent protocol 802.15.4. So when I talk about enhancements, these are all the enhancements which are in 802.15.4e. So let me talk about every enhancement in this. First one, low energy. So this is a mechanism which is intended for application that can trade latency for energy efficiency. So it allows the device to operate in a very low duty cycle basically. That is low energy. Then information elements. Information elements is something which is more similar to .4. In 802.15.4 we had information elements which is extensible mechanism that helps in exchange of information in the MAC layer. Then we have enhanced beacons. In 802.15.4 we had beacons that gives difference, to separate each and every superframe. In this we have enhanced beacons. What enhanced beacons have is it has specific information elements that gives an enhancement like for every MAC behavior, which I will be talking in the future slides. So in enhanced beacons, it gives like at what time it has to go, what MAC behavior it is using and everything. That is an enhanced beacon. I'll be talking about this in the later slides. Then we have the multi-purpose frame. This mechanism provides a flexible frame format to address a number of MAC operations actually. Then we have MAC performance metrics. This is something like it will know the quality of the channel and it will give us a feedback like how the channel is there, how the quality of the channel is there. It is basically about giving the performance of the MAC. Then we have fast association. This was one of the most important and interesting enhancements actually. When me and Ricardo were speaking the other day, Ricardo gave this line that this is the holy grail of this standard actually. It was really nice. So enhanced fast association gives association in a very faster rate, thus saving a lot of energy inside it. So these are all the enhancements of 802.15.4e. Okay. Now let me talk about the MAC behaviors. So there is 5 MAC behaviors in 802.15.4e. Each and every MAC behavior is intended for a specific application. First, radio frequency identification by link. Simply put, you can say it's something like RFID. It is intended for application such as like people identification, location and tracking. Very basic. Then asynchronous multi-channel adaptation. From the name you can understand that it is multi-channel and it is suitable for domains in which larger deployments are applied, in which like a bigger domains with bigger applications. Then deterministic and synchronous multi-channel extension. This supports industrial and commercial applications with stringent timelines. Low latency deterministic networks, in which these are also these target applications with very low latency applications actually. Then finally you have the time slotted hopping. This is mainly suited for applications such as process automation. So these are the MAC behaviors, and in this presentation I will be talking about 2 MAC behaviors. DSME, deterministic synchronous multi-channel extension. So in DSME, it is more similar to the last 802.15.4, but you have a concept called as multi-frame. So this is a single superframe. A superframe which we spoke in 802.15.4 has a contention access phase and a contention free phase. Similarly, you have a contention access phase and a contention free phase, in which in the contention access phase the channel is occupied using CSMA-CA, and in the contention free phase you have the guaranteed time slots. But the one small difference is you don't have an inactive slot in this. Apart from that, there is a multi-super frame. Multi-super frame is nothing but two super frames fixed one to other. So it is something like this. So the main idea is to have multi-channel in a super frame. So you can access lot and lot different channels in this, and you have 2 or 3 super frames stick together. So that is the main idea. You can have as many super frames one on other actually. Now a question arises, why should we have a multi super frame? Can't we have like super frames and have beacons in between it? That's where this gets interesting. So before going into that part, instead of sending beacons, in this we will be sending enhanced beacons, in which we will be telling that how many super frames are going to be stick together to form a complete multi-frame. That idea will be given here, and after that we will be giving ideas about the channel, like what is the channel diversity, how we are going to access the channel, and how and what basis is going to. There is like 2 methods. One is called as the channel hopping, and another one is the channel adaptation. In channel hopping, you will be having a fixed hopping sequence by which the channel can hop. In channel adaptation, you will be having the MAC performance metric, which we talked before. You will be having an idea like based upon the channel's quality, how the channel quality is, and based upon that, the channel will be hopping. So this is the DSME thing. So this is DSME GTSS. So in guaranteed time slots in .4 we had GTS, in which a GTS can take hold of a single GTS slot. I mean a node can take hold of a single GTS slot. Whereas in a DSME, it can hold a single GTS slot in a specific channel. For example, in this first super frame, if you see that the node takes a GTS slot in the second channel actually, but at the same time the node takes the GTS in the third channel in this one. So what I am showing in this is the channel is represented in form of horizontal and the GTS slot in the form of a vertical lines actually. So thus depending upon the enhanced beacons that you give inside, this can be decided where you have to have your respective slots actually. Now answering the last question, why should we have a multi super frame? So this gives an idea like called as cap reduction actually. Cap reduction is like you can reduce the complete contention access phase and you can have a contention free phase on a full time slot. So this will be considered as a single multi-frame in which you have a single cap and 3 contention free phases. So you have lot and lot of guaranteed time slot in which your nodes have a guaranteed time slot actually. So that some applications which need guaranteed time slot, this will be a very good standard to go on. Then this is another standard called as TSCH. In TSCH, what is the thing is like the concept of super frames is changed right now into slot frames. In slot frames, in this also we have the beacon, the same thing of beacon, but you have all slot frames in which each and every slot a node can transmit a data. You have an absolute number in which will be going on increase in a global fashion, and every time slot will repeat its same function over a period of time. It is more like a TDMA based approach. So if you see this in time slot 1, the node A sends data to B and time slot 2 B to C, and at the same time when this is a 3 time slot frame, and in the next time slot the same thing repeats and it will be going on repeating actually. So within a time slot what happens is you have clear channel assessment, you have the transmission of data, and you will have the acknowledgement and the reception of data. This is the basic thing which happens inside a single time slot. This happens between the transmitter and receiver of TSCH. This is considered to be one of the better MAC behaviors in 802.15.4e because this can be in this lot of topologies can be implemented, like the mesh topology, star topology, and lot of topologies can be implemented. So this was found to be a little bit better, I mean, compared to other MAC topologies. Now, in order to address the demands and the terms of the latency and resources, it is very important to know the system, to understand the system. So we are using network calculus in order to understand the system. So before going to network calculus, I would like to give a basic model. So in this basic model, what I am giving is like I am giving the arrival in the y axis and the time in the x axis. So the thing is like when the arrival is like the burst of data, when the burst of data arrives and when it is getting served. When the burst of data is arrived, I am giving it as a linear line and as the arrival curve, in which it will be the rate of the burst of data and the rate. And in the service curve, I will be having when it gets served, when my data gets served. I mean the data which is arriving and when it is getting served. So the maximum delay will be the horizontal line between the arrival and the service. So from when the burst arrived and from till when I got served, the data is served. So a minimum latency can be derived. So this is a very basic model from which you can build a network calculus for all the models. So we built a delay model for DSME. In the delay model of DSME, what I give is like we planned on a single node that occupies a single DSME GTS slot, and it same way continues in the other CFP, and it goes on. In this we considered a multi-frame with the 2 super frames, and we calculated the delay using network calculus. So in this, if you see that when the GTS slot is occupied, the data, I mean the service gets increased, and on the rest the delay remains the same, and it goes on increasing exactly when the DSME GTS is served. And for a complete CFP, it will consist of the T data and T idle. So T data is the time which the data gets accumulated, something like the transmission and the reception of the data, whereas the T idle will be the time in which the whole system remains idle. It's something like for the acknowledgement, for the CCA, those intervals. So things goes like this. Similarly, we made a delay model for TSCH also, and in the future work we are planning to develop models for all the MAC behaviors and to calculate their respective delays. And currently we are working on implicit allocation of nodes in guaranteed time slots so that we can reduce the delay. So this is our future work. Thank you.
So now we have time for a couple of questions.
So, correct me first, I'm going to clarify what you said. You said TSCH, which is timeliness slotted.
Time slotted channel hop.
Channel hopping. So in that you said that it fixes the time slot or something like that.
Yes, the time slots are fixed actually. Yeah.
So is it possible to have a version of that in terms of because in wireless network we have different applications which require these things to be more adaptive. So is there something you're looking into that? Okay, there is this TSCI which there are fixed time slots for, and then puts them together. But
Yeah.
any adaptiveness quality?
According to the standard, the time slot is fixed actually. The time slot is not variable, it is not adaptive, just as you say. It remains fixed and it just gets repeated.
Is it possible to look into like do something like that? Really?
I have not seen into that, but talking upon the standard, it remains fixed. It is around 10 milliseconds actually. The exact value is 10 milliseconds, and it has to happen within that 10 milliseconds. If that does not happen within 10 milliseconds, what happens is like it goes for the next time slot basically. It works in
no,
such
what I'm talking about is not having these 10 millisecond miss or do it inside that. What I'm talking about is according to different applications in the network, you can have because basically you are defining these time slots in what time you are sending these super frames and your data. So you can have adaptiveness into, let's say, changing these time slots according to what applications you are running or something like that. Just
Okay.
an interesting thing, I
Okay.
think, which would be an obvious future step, I think.
I think we're talking about the scheduling of the time slots, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I see. It's about the scheduling of time
Like
slots.
how you.
Ah,
So there is already some proposal, like the orchestra,
yeah, orchestra. Yeah.
that tries to address that kind of issues. But yes, it is possible. There are a few works on also on wireless cards, because they have a similar issue there, right?
So because
And
I asked this question because
we can follow a similar
Yeah.
approach to here.
I asked because I think you are interested in body sensor networks, right? Something like that. Or you were working on that. And in those kind of scenario, and in wireless sensor networks, whenever you have heterogeneous nodes or where different kind of applications are running, this kind of adaptiveness is always required. And this is what I'm looking for. Yeah, thanks.
Any question?
Perhaps we could discuss or give some pointers about what to expect your future work should be, what to expect to do next.
The next work we are planning on the implicit guaranteed slots actually. We are planning on this implicit allocation of the nodes actually, in which what we have is in the old work what we planned is the nodes are occupying a specific time slot, a specific GTS. What we can have in the future work is like the nodes can interchange, like node 1 occupies a specific GTS and in the next super frame node 2 occupies or something like that. So that what we can have is like we think that we can reduce the delay because we have already a work on .4 in which you have IBM or let's call this implicit GTS allocation mechanism. In which what they did was the same method in which they proved that they can reduce the delay. The same kind of method it will be possible in this, but there are some pointers in which it is not possible also, but we can definitely try to apply it. Some points which it is not possible is like the cap reduction technique which we have here. Because like this is not fixed, the cap is not fixed. If you have a contention free phase, it can be extended, which would not be which is not the same thing in .4. So that will give some kind of anomaly for us, so that we will not be able to apply it in a same fashion. But yeah, scheduling is possible. We'll be able to do it.
By the way, I just like to tell you, although they call it enhanced beacons in the standard, we here have been using enhanced beacons for a long time before the 15.40. Okay? Right? Because we were using the beacons or extending the amount of information available in the beacon, right? To introduce more stuff that was of interest for other mechanisms.
Yes, it's true. That's true.
It's not entirely new.
But in this enhanced beacons gives the time slots, specific like time slots, like where to apply or things like that, like MAC behaviors. The enhanced beacons, the concept of enhanced beacons is the same, but the information element that we give inside each and every enhanced beacon will be different. That's the main difference which you can find in this.
Okay. Then we can thank the speaker again.